Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. There were I recorded a video of for I went to the movies actually the other night on Friday night. There's a pretty impromptu thing, and I saw the new Saw movie, Saw X, which is the 10th movie in the franchise, I believe. And I was kind of blown away by how fantastic this movie was. And I did a show. I recorded the video on Saturday, but we had a lot of kind of crazy weather here yesterday, and so I tried for a little while to upload the video, but my connection, we had a big storm pass through. It was in mid coast all day Saturday, and then Saturday night it got even worse. So the connection was pretty wonky, so I was not able to upload the video. So I uploaded it this morning. So check it out. It's a little review. I I was really impressed. It's a really great movie. I think it's so strong that I would kind of call it a standalone movie. Uh, you could go into checking out this movie without, I think, having to have seen any of the other movies in the franchise. Again, it's like the 10th movie, so there's a whole bunch of nine other movies, obviously. So, but I think it's so well done in a lot of ways that you could go into it cold and get the gist of what's going on as far as storyline and the plot, the characters, where people are coming from, and just really enjoy it for what it is. It's very suspenseful, really great kills, really good story. Um, it's fleshed out really well and just really executed really well. Kind of a good example of just doing something really good, something that's just really strong. For and especially if it's part of this, long franchise that's been around for years, where it could be easily, done in a way of where it's just kind of a cookie cutter kind of scenario, but it's really fresh and exciting, and highly recommend it. So I just uploaded the video for my review of Saw X. Very cool. So, and aside from that, it's been I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days since I've done a video because of just various things that kind of got in the way. Kind of busy in the morning and a couple of those days, and so today's show is on a movie that is yet another part of this killer horror combo pack that I bought at Opera House Video a few weeks ago. Super cool, and I've been working my way through all of these movies. I have I have about two more films on this disc, on this one particular disc for this film that I'm going to be talking about today. And then I just started the last disc, and it's got, I think, three more movies on it. So pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Most of these films I have not seen before. They're all like, most of these movies are from the 60s. There's a few that are from the 70s. I think there's one from the early 80s. But they're all basically, these super low budget horror exploitation movies. They're a lot of these films are Italian, so it's very cool. None of these movies on here, at least the ones I've been posting, this is my first time seeing them, so very cool. So today's show is on a movie that, again, I have not seen before. I saw it for the first time probably like 3 or 4 nights ago, and that is called Fangs of the Living Dead. And again, it's another Italian movie. I've never seen it before. It's from 1969. Um, it was directed by Armando D'Azario, and it's totally an Italian film. I just saw that it was recently, I think, recently released on Blu-ray and 4K. And again, like I have said before in some of these videos where I'm covering all of this whole combo pack, it's kind of like second grade to third grade, quality DVD. It's okay. Some of it's pretty good. Some of it's kind of bad. There's a few movies on here that the quality is so bad that it's kind of almost unwatchable. Some of the other films are better, are the quality is better, but this whole thing was so cheap. It was like $1 something. So, and again, it comes with like 15 movies, and a lot of these movies I've never seen before. There's a few movies on here that I have seen and I actually do own, but I want to get, and then the other movies that I have seen on here that I really want to get them on Blu-ray because I have other editions of them, but they're also not very good quality. This disc also has, or these discs also have Night of the Living Dead, the George Romero classic. I have the Criterion collection of that masterpiece heart zombie film. I did a review on that a while back, but that's an amazing collection for an amazing film. House on Haunted Hill, Vincent Price, amazing film, amazing film, directed by Frank Castle, starring Vincent Price. I have actually a really good DVD copy of that film, so I uh, I believe I think I did a review on it a while back. Another movie on here that is just spectacular. I only saw it for the first time probably about 2 3 years ago, and that is Carnival of Souls, and I believe that came out in '69. That movie is a pure horror masterpiece. I mean, it's really really good. I have another copy of Carnival of Souls on DVD, and it's really pretty bad quality. And the version that I have on this collection, excuse me, is also very is pretty bad, almost unwatchable. And I think I did a show on Carnival Souls, but that is definitely a movie that I highly recommend to anybody out there to check out. I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's an amazing movie. It's one of the best I've seen, and I just saw it for the first time a few years ago, and I really really need to get that on Blu-ray at some point. And the rest of these films on here I've never seen before, so it's been super awesome. I've been really digging it. And so today's movie, uh, Fangs of the Living Dead, it's a Italian movie. It came out, I believe, in what did I say, 1969? Yeah, 1969. It's an hour and 28 minutes, and it's uh it's funny. The first thing that this movie kind of reminded me of was the uh, the classic Roman Polanski movie, The Fearless Vampire Killers. One of his best movies, one of his more uh, horror based films, but it's also kind of a comedy, a black comedy. It's a really funny, whimsical, kind of satirical movie, but it has the great classic kind of vampire horror tropes. But it's very funny and it's very humorous. But it's really an amazing film. That's a movie I need to eventually do a show on. But this film, Fangs of the Living Dead, of the Living Dead, kind of reminded me of that. It's uh, it's super cheesy. It and it's also really funny. There's some moments in this movie where it's super hilarious. Where there's and it's definitely a vampire movie. Um, it's definitely a vampire movie. The whole kind of premise of this film is basically a beautiful virgin inherits a castle, but when she arrives at it, she finds that the inhabitants include a strange nobleman and a bevy of beautiful women that she suspects as being that they're all vampires, and they're they have an amazing degree of seduction. There's there's definitely a lot of eroticism in this movie. It doesn't. It's it doesn't. It's not particularly graphic or gory, but it's got really cool atmosphere. The the sexual nature of the film, it doesn't really obviously show too much, but it has a lot of like implied sexuality, which in some ways it's kind of like a, I don't know, when that happens, when I see that in films where there's like all this setup or build up, and when it comes to the actual sexual act, if you will, it's they don't show anything, and it has this whole. It always reminds me of kind of bad hotel or motel porn, where everything is fully covered. There's the characters all have clothing on, but there's all these sexual situations that happen, and it's kind of sleazy, and where it's totally outlandish and over the top, but you don't actually see anything because of various ratings scenarios. But I think in some ways that's kind of fun and exciting because it does leave a lot to the imagination, and it can be so. I don't know, when I've seen films like that that are kind of considered to be like softcore porn, they're just they're just hilarious, and they're just it, depending on you know I mean, quality is subjective, but depending on how, to a degree, how well it's done, it can be really effective and just add to the kind of the hilarious factor or the scenario that you're seeing, because when you're not being shown, say, really graphic sex, it can be, it can kind of add to it in its own weird way. So this film has elements of that where it's mostly implied. The thing that I really liked about this film too is that it has a lot of humor, and it's pretty funny. There's a couple of scenes, and one scene in particular where the characters in the film realize that there are vampires in this castle. So they basically, get all of the tropes of what you need to use to kill a vampire, where they have to get a stake and put a stake through a vampire's heart, and then they have to grab a bunch of garlic and all these kinds of things. And there's one scene where they're trying to find this one vampire and go after this one woman who they suspect to be a vampire. And the guy who is carrying all the garlic is apparently like kind of allergic to garlic, and he has this like allergic reaction where he just keeps sneezing and his eyes are watering, and it's pretty hilarious and pretty funny. The location, the settings, the atmosphere for this film is really awesome. I love the cheese factor. It's super cheesy. It's really bad, and it's so schlocky. And the film looks like it was shot for not very much money, but it still has some really cool sets. Kind of in the vein of like the classic British Hammer films. Where all of the sets are real. It's like it looks like it's set on this big, in this within this theater piece. You feel like it's a real castle. Very cool movie. I definitely enjoyed it. I had never seen it before, and it's super fun. It's definitely on the lighter side of things, but it's super entertaining. It's and again, a lot of the things with the violence and the sex are implied, but it's got great atmosphere, and I love the the comedic aspects of it. If I think the film might not have worked as well as it did if it didn't have those comedic aspects. I think that really gave it a uniqueness to it, and 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 something memorable that you can take away from it and really enjoy it. Super cool in that regard, and I would definitely, snatch this movie up if I come across it on Blu-ray. The quality of Fangs of the Living Dead on this second, third degree of a DVD uh, is not very good. It's okay. It's all right. It's watchable, but it's it was totally worth the purchase. It was totally worth buying because I had never seen it before, And again, there are so many freaking movies. It's like it's insane how many movies I've been discovering, especially lately from like the '60s, the late '60s, of all of these Italian movies that have been coming out. Like it's pretty wild. There's so many. It's horror is like I just said, I just talked about doing a review on Saw X, which I think was a big surprise, and I really really enjoyed it. When and that came out, it just had its opening last, or actually this weekend, I believe. And here we are in 2023 going into 2024. And when I discover all of these movies that came out in the 60s, the 70s, and just how many there are, that just how many films came out during that time, and they're all horror movies. It blows my mind. It blows my mind because you know I've talked about this before, but I'm really into the lineage of things. I really love if I get into a certain style of music. Um, for example, like I did it. I did the same kind of thing with lots of music, but like with jazz-based music, reggae music, especially electronic music. And I've done it many times, and I still do it with horror films because it's my favorite genre. Tracing the lineage, like seeing where maybe if you love, say, vampire movies, or you love the slasher genre, or which is my favorite, or you love zombie movies, or you love like really, you know, sleazy horror films, or really sleazy sex exploitation movies, like whatever it is in that kind of world. Tracing it back, the origins of it, like maybe finding out who was the first director to, you know, to kind of put this style, set this style or genre in kind of this mold, or and seeing where how far back does it go, and I love that. So I do that with everything that I get really into or that I get obsessed with, and it always, for me, as a fan, just opens up all of these doors to all of these new discoveries. And getting back to Fangs of the Living Dead, this is very much a pure example of that. Like it's crazy, it's wild. Like we're all of these films are coming from, and how far and how huge the and how deep the ocean is for the world of like horror exploitation movies, the really low budget films, and just horror in general. And to see that all of these films were made during that decade in the '60s, and kind of what they were doing is really astounding, and such a big surprise. But I definitely recommend this movie. It's super fun, super campy, great humor, and great atmosphere. Fangs of the Living Dead, 1969. Pretty fun stuff. So, this is Jason Dean. Thanks again, and we will see you soon. Peace.